Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th Revolution Trains Facebook Live. Welcome to you, of course. If you've joined us for any of our previous ones, you'll kind of know what to expect. And if you're joining us for the first time, a particularly warm welcome for you. Over the next, 45 minutes, possibly up to an hour, we are going to run you, me and my business partner Mike Hale are going to run you through a variety of items that we've got. We're going to go through some of the things that we've got in production that you know about, with the latest samples, decorated or unpainted. We're going to talk about a couple of new items in Engage, including something we said we'd never ever do. And we are also going to bring you up to speed with where we are on existing productions. I know lots of you are waiting for models. We're waiting for them too. And we're going to go through as many of those as we can and tell you where we are in the production process. If I don't mention something, it's because there isn't an update. I'll try to mention everything, but if I don't mention a particular thing you're waiting for, then it's because there is no update on that particular model. As usual, Mike will be joining in a special guest appearance via video link, and he will be aided not with a safety net but with a piece of paper. I've seen his video inserts and they're really quite spectacular. We'll also be answering, or he will be answering, questions on the Revolution Trains Facebook page there. So I can see everybody's talking about things, and if you ask questions on that, then as Revolution Trains, Mike will be typing in answers. Okay, so and without further ado, and before we start, I just want to say something very quickly, because today a new company entered the UK Engage market, Rapido Trains of Canada. We know them well. They made the Pendolino for us, and they are making the Class 92 for us. We know that they are incredibly good at what they do. We really rate their models, and theoretically, of course, they are competitors, but at the same time, as Engage enthusiasts, which Mike and I both are, we're really excited that another company is looking at British Engage and thinking, yeah, that's where I want to put my investment. That's where I want to put my business. It's a huge vote of confidence in British Engage, which I think we can all be really excited about. They've chosen a Class 28 as their first model. It's one that was on our kind of long list of possibles, but hey, good for them. We're delighted that somebody's going to do it, and we're really looking forward to seeing what they come up with. In this live Back to Revolution Trains, we'll be showing you decorated samples of our 00 gauge IWA vans and timber carriers. We'll be showing you the first EP samples of our new little four-wheel PFA container flats that we're producing with Accurascale. We'll show you the CADs of the Mk5 sleepers and Transpennine Express Nova 3 sets that are coming up. There'll be a reminder of deadlines as well, because we've got a few big deadlines coming up, and later on in the live we will be unveiling one new model, rolling stock model in Engage, plus a couple of other Engage items that we hope will be of interest. So without further ado, I'm going to start talking about the IWA vans in 00, and let's have a look at some photos. So this photo here shows you how they came in originally. They were introduced in the late 1980s, 1988 I think, and the first livery was Norsk Hydro, and we're doing that version in 00. Here it is. So as you can see, it's a really nice finish on that. I'm going to bring it closer to the camera and hope it can find focus and just show you some of the finely printed detail on there. So all the panels are there, all legible under the magnifying glass. The Norsk Hydro livery just moving along. You can see the various markings on the sole, on the underframe there, and then the markings at the other end. And of course at the ends you've got the distinctive pair of wheels, and these are used to lift up and move the entire sort of roof section here and side. So the whole thing lifts up and moves back, allowing the wagons, the real wagons, to be loaded or unloaded from the sides via a forklift or from the top via an overhead crane, making them incredibly useful. So that's the first livery we're doing, and those were used for fertiliser traffic when the wagons were introduced in the 80s right through certainly until the late 90s, possibly even the early 2000s. The second version we're doing is the cargo wagon livery. Now this is a photo from Paul Bartlett's site, very useful site for any model railway enthusiast, and you can see the real thing there, and here is the model. Just let that get into the centre there so you can see it. We took on board the criticism of our close-up camera work last time, so we've rearranged things at this end to try to give you a better shot of the products. Again, the cargo wagon van here, the only thing we're changing on this is that the yellow stripe, in fact, I'll bring it closer and show you. The yellow stripe with the actual cargo wagon lettering on is a bit too orangey. It's not quite the right specified colour that cargo wagons specify. The RAL colour isn't quite right, so we're going to get that changed and sorted. But these wagons will be coming along soon. Now, as well as the cargo wagon, the Norsk Hydro, we're also offering an unpainted version, but we're also going on to do timber carriers, because as you can see in the photo there of the Class 56 with a couple of timber carriers behind it, what happened was in the late sort of 2000, I think 2006 sort of time, they converted some of these into timber carriers by taking the roofs off and fitting side stakes. And again, that's a model that we're offering. So here it is. Just put that in the shot there. Again, you can see it's got these big side stakes, 8 of them down the side. Now, in reality, what happened was they arrived and entered service with the stakes arranged like this. And I'll bring it again a bit closer so you can see some of the detail. Hopefully not too close. And oh, it's a bit difficult, this one. I'm going to move back slightly. There you go. So you can see the details there. You can see all the photo etched ferry lashing loops and the stakes and all the markings and everything. Now, they didn't last that long with just the 8 stakes, and they started to get fitted with red sort of smaller stakes. And so, because we think people might want to do those as well, what we've done is we've asked the factory to produce these extra stakes, and they'll be loose in a packet, and they could be fitted on. They'll probably just have to be sort of held in place with a tiny blob of PVA, but you can put those on if you want to depict them as they are at any stage during their lives. And what that will do is it will enable you to run them however you'd like, and there'll be instructions with the models telling you, which is the right arrangement to have. So that's all the cargo wagon bands that are coming, just one last update on that is that we're doing those in N gauge as well, and the N gauge models are progressing too. At the moment they are in unpainted form, so we'll just show you through all the 3 images of the 3 there. So there's the cargo wagon on the right, the Norsk Hydro in the middle, and the unbranded one on the left there. And these are all being sold in twin packs, wagons with 2 different numbers, and you can order those now. I will tell you about the deadline of those. The deadline for getting the low pre-order price, the deadline for the 00 models is the 31st of this month. After that you can still order them, but they'll be priced higher, much closer to what the retail price will be eventually when they're with retailers after they've been delivered. And the N-gauge models, the deadline for those will be the 31st of January. So moving on, our next model is going to be courtesy of Mr. Mike Hale.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me better than previous weeks. I've switched which microphone I'm using, and hopefully that'll make the sound quality better for some of you who've been struggling to hear what I've been saying on some of these Facebook Live sessions. Tonight I'd just like to introduce you to the first tool samples of our forthcoming PFA wagon that has been produced in conjunction with Accurascale. Those of you that follow 00 gauge will know that Accurascale produced a very highly regarded model of the PFA container flat, and we asked them to shrink it down into N gauge for us, and we recently received the first tool samples, which we can now show off to you. What you'll see to start with is that the actual deck and the majority of the chassis is a die-cast chassis. So these are 20-foot container wagons. They're originally designed for coal containers. And what you'll see is die-cast body with a very finely detailed plastic and wire underframe. The eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that the couplings are not NEM coupling pockets. That was an error in the tooling, and that is being corrected as we speak. We've got 2 versions of the PFA. We've got the as-built original version, and then we've got the slightly modified version used by DRS, which has a very lovely etched subframe on it. And the reason for the subframe was that the original coal containers, which I'll show you in a minute, actually had cutouts for the wheels. When DRS took over the use of them, The low-level waste nuclear containers that DRS were running didn't have those cutouts, so they actually had to raise the containers above the wheel height. So they built this subframe to solve that problem. We're offering 3 different versions of the PFA. So we're offering the as-built version, which comes without the subframe and comes with this lovely coal container, which was originally used by Kwoods, and it was a distinctive yellow container that later got painted into British Fuels red, and both those livery options are available from our website. The second version is the DRS low-level nuclear waste container. It's a half-height container. Again, it's 20 foot to fit on the wagons, and it just sits neatly in the mounting points on the wagon. And then the final version is the DRS container, but without the containers. So you've got a choice. You can either leave the frame on, or you can just simply lift it off. Again, that just clips into place on the wagon, and so it's easy for you to choose how you want to run it, whether you want to run it empty or with the frame on.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed for that, Mike. And we're going to go back to Mike for an update on another new product a little bit later on in the show. One thing, though, that we're going to add to that is that you'll know, if you know about Accurascale, who are making the PFAs for us, that when they did them in 00, they did the Kwoods coal containers, which we're doing, and they did the half-height low-level nuclear waste containers that we're doing. But in 00 they also did gypsum containers, and the gypsum containers were carried on PFA wagons for a while. And at the time when we were starting this project, we thought we'd love to do them, but the gypsum containers are just that little bit too niche. We don't necessarily think that we can get the numbers to work, so we'll leave them. Anyway, when those samples arrived that Mike has got there, lo and behold, what did we find? By happy accident, a serendipity, there were 2 really beautiful gypsum containers moulded in there. Some kind of a mix-up between us and Accurascale and the factory in China, whatever. In any event, what we decided to do, because they're so lovely and they look so great, is we're going to offer them as accessories. So if I show you them now, we've got them here. They are ideal to go on our PFA containers, and in a minute I'm going to show you a photograph of these wagons running with these containers on. And we're doing 2 different types. There's the type with the horizontal bar across there, and then there's the other type with the more plain ribs that you can possibly see there. If I get it into focus, there we go. And so, as I said, these ran on PFAs, and we've got a photo of them running with a class 60. There we go. So that's how they were running. They started off in all white livery, then they got the blue livery that you can see in that photo sometime probably in the mid to late 1990s. Now, they didn't actually run on the PFAs for that long, because what happened then was that they were put into they were used on more standard 60-foot decks, such as our KFA wagon. And here we go. If I put them on there, we've got the you can see in that you can see there on the Revolution Trains KFA. I'll just pop the middle one on as well, and I'll show you a photo of that running as well. This is a photo from Dan Adkins that you can see there. 3 of the gypsum containers, the same as the ones we're doing, with 2 with the horizontal beam across the top, and 1 of them with plain ribs all the way at the side. Running on a tip hook KFA, which is the same as the model that Revolution Trains did, but actually they also can run on FEABs that Dapol have done. And these gypsum containers, I mean, as we've looked into them, they're incredibly useful, because they're used to take fly ash, a byproduct of power generation, from power stations to gypsum plants, and of course they run back empty. And there are gypsum plants in Cumbria and New Biggin, there's one at Mountfield in East Sussex, power stations all over the place. So these gypsum trains do run quite extensively across the network, and we just think they'll be a great additional containerized traffic to run on your model railway. And so how we're going to sell these, we're not selling them with the wagons, we're selling them separately. There'll be in packs of 3, ideal again for a container flat wagon. 3 in British gypsum white and 3 in British gypsum blue, and there'll be details of these and all of these products, by the way, going up on our website very soon. Okay, now next thing I want to show you is that you may know that we are producing, here we go, the IZA vans with Kernow Model Rail Centre. Let me just move them into shot. There we go. These have now pretty much just left the factory. They've been in production and they are now being shipped to the UK. If you want more details or to order them, these 00 models, then go on to the Kernow Model Railways website. Kernow Model Rail Centre is their website. They're going to be here very soon though, and when they arrive, I'm sure there'll be lots of lovely photos put on Kernow's site. But I just wanted to give those a quick mention because I know that people have been asking after them. I've seen that online. Okay, and that starts really the production update that I've got for you this evening. So I've got a long list here. Right, Class 92. I mean, we're all waiting for those and have been for some time. We've just been arranging the shipping for them. So in theory, they should be here very, very soon indeed. There have been problems, COVID related and Brexit related, with British ports and delays getting stuff in. There have been various items on the news about problems, for example, at Felixstowe. So once they've left the factory, we are sort of in the lap of the gods, or at least in the hands of the shipping companies. But hopefully they will be here very, very soon indeed. But our understanding is that production is actually complete and we're just now arranging the shipping. The N-Gauge, there's a couple of Class 92s for you to have a quick look at. Caledonian Sleeper and GBRF, they're two of the liveries we're doing. Of course, the other ones you'll know about, you'll have ordered them, and there will be limited numbers from retailers. Moving on then, the next thing is the N-Gauge Semiflows. They're being produced for us by Accurascale. Now, we were sent this photo by the factory a couple of days ago showing them in production. They are, obviously you can see their chassis being spray painted. By now, I mean that's a few days out of date, so by now they'll probably have been assembled, and those models are, we believe, ready to ship mid-December, so the middle of this month is when they're going to be leaving China, heading to the UK. Next up, the 00 gauge IPA car carriers. Last Facebook Live we showed you these under-decorated samples. We've been testing them, they're absolutely fine, and now we're waiting for decorated samples, and hopefully next time round in Facebook Live number 7, sometime in the new year, we'll be able to show you the decorated samples of those. Class 313 models, well, the CADs are progressing on those. Caroline in 00 and in N. Well, the CAD is just about finished on that. We've just done a little bit of final tweaking just to check a few details here and there, but we're pretty much ready to go into tooling with that model in 00. Once the CAD is completely signed off in 00, then we will start N-Gauge. But the N-Gauge CAD shouldn't take too long because it's really a question just of reducing. They know where everything should go. They know what shape it should be. It's just a question of rescaling it for N-Gauge. And can I also just say, before we move on, a big thank you to Railway Modeler. I don't know how many of you read Railway Modeler. I do. It's a great magazine if you're a model railway enthusiast. And they've printed a couple of our articles about Caroline, because we did delve into the history of what is an absolutely iconic vehicle. Fascinating, and the way they laid it out, the photos they put with it, absolutely fantastic. So I just want to say thank you to Steve and Craig and Tim at Railway Modeler for that. Okay, next thing is the 56XXs by Sonic Models. Obviously Sonic Models is his own brand. Revolution is just simply helping him get established in the UK. These models are just about completed. There was a small problem with the insulation washers that separate the two halves of the chassis. A bit of mismoulding, so they had to redo those, which has added a tiny bit of a delay, but we're expecting them to be ready to ship this month again. And obviously those are all now available to, if you want to order those, there are the models that we originally announced, and there are some new ones that were added by Rails of Sheffield. All of the Sonic 56XXs can be ordered from Rails of Sheffield exclusively now. If you ordered from us, we will supply you with your model when they arrive, but everybody else, please go to Rails of Sheffield for those. And the last thing to talk about, the 320s and 321s, well, these are now well in production. All the moulding has been done, assembly has started, and we are very confident that they will be able to ship before Chinese New Year, which is at, I think, the beginning of February this year. I did look the other day, I can't remember now. And of course, the issue with Chinese New Year is that the whole country shuts down for about probably the best part of a month by the time people get home and then come back again. And if you remember last year, it's actually coincided with the outbreak of COVID. So after Chinese New Year ended, people didn't come back, which is one of the things that's held up a lot of production, not just for Revolution, but also for a lot of other manufacturers who have their models made out in China. Okay, so that's that. Now let's talk about N-Gauge Mark 5s. Now, you'll know that we announced at Model Rail Scotland in 2019 that we would be producing the Mark 5 Caledonian Sleepers and the Mk5a TPE Express. So the CAD has now been signed off and tooling is just starting, and I just want to show you some of the CADs and talk you through some of the details. I have to say, the response to these has been absolutely stunning. We've had so many orders for these. We're really excited about them. So what you can see there, that's the accessible sleeper. The spotting point on that one is that it's got the two windows close together and the other compartments are all individual. And the two end compartments with extra space either side of them are those that are intended for wheelchair passengers. And if you look underneath, you can see the interior as well. We're sort of really pushing out the boat with these ones. They're going to have fully detailed interiors, as you can see, and all will come with interior lighting and red tail lighting as standard, all activated by reed switches controlled with a sort of magnetic wand, so you don't have to reach underneath the models and fiddle around with buttons and switches or anything like that. So that's the accessible sleeper. Next up is two more different vehicles. There's the club car on the top there. That can be spotted by the Wi-Fi dome at one end, and below that is the seated coach. And the seated coach, somewhat annoyingly for a model manufacturer, has the windows lower down the body shell, so these all required separate body shells. There are four different vehicles. I'm not showing you the standard sleeper, it's pretty similar to the accessible sleeper, but you've got the accessible sleeper, the standard sleeper, the club car and the seated coach. And if you look along the underframe there, you can possibly see that on the large central grille section we're doing photo etched grills in there for added finesse and detailing. So that's the Caledonian Sleepers. Again, you can find all those on our website and you can order them. We're doing a variety of different sets, whether you want to do the Lowlander, which runs from London to Glasgow and Edinburgh and back, or the Highlander, which runs again between London and Edinburgh and then on to Fort William, Inverness and Aberdeen. Then we've got the TPE Express Nova 3 sets, and again, if we show you the next image there, this is the T1 car and the T2 car. Now the T1 car is the one that this end that you can see doesn't have a gangway, it just has some jumper cables to connect it to the locomotive, because this is the car that is coupled up to the Class 68 locomotive. These Nova 3s run in fixed sets of 5, so you have the T1 car next to the locomotive. Next you have the car that's below that in that image, which is the T2 car. It has bicycle accommodation as well as seats for passengers. There are another two cars, and then at the other end you have the driving trailer, the DT, and that we're going to show you now. It has the driving cab, obviously. The model will have illuminated headlights, it'll have illuminated tail lights, and again interior coach lighting as standard, and all the details that you will think. Now, one thing that's caused us some work during the CAD process is figuring out how we're going to get these things to roll effectively, because they've got, as you will have noticed on the bogies, they have inside bearings, which in the past has been tricky, but working with Accurascale we think we've come up with a really neat solution, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing samples when they arrive and seeing how well they run, because I'm hoping that they will run at least as well as the kind of coaches that we have with pinpoint axles, although I know that is a high ambition. Okay, so that's that on the Mark 5s. Again, you can order those on our website as you can with any of our stuff. And just a reminder, all the stuff we're talking about will be going onto our website later, and this Facebook Live can be viewed later too if you aren't able to tune in live. So now with news of something else, it's something we said we would never ever do. Here is Mike Hale.
Hi again. I'd just like to introduce you to the first of our new range of accessories. Those of you that purchased our IZA cargo twins in N-Gauge will realise that they came with inter-wagon coupling based on a screw-link coupling that just clipped into the NEM socket. And quite a few people asked us whether we consider producing those as spares. So that's exactly what we've done. We've used the same couplings on our IPA car carriers in N-Gauge. And what it is a representation of the screw-link coupling as on the real wagons that clips into the NEM coupling socket. If I could just show you what it looks like. So you'll see at either end there's an NEM coupling socket that you can just pop out any normal coupling and insert the sort of semi-permanent bar coupling into both wagons. And then in the centre you've got the representation of the screw-link coupling. we thought this would be useful for modelers, so we've bagged them up into packs of 10, and we're offering 2 different lengths, a short coupling and a medium coupling. Each of them will come in small bags of 10, and it'll be £4.95 for a bag of 10. You've got a choice of 3 different options. You can go for a bag of 10 short couplings, a bag of 10 medium couplings, or a mixed bag of 5 short, 5 medium if you want to try out different lengths. Thanks.
Well, hey, okay, thanks for that, Mike. So again, the accessories will be available to order pretty much as soon as this Facebook Live is finished. I mean, maybe even now. I'm not sure. Mike might have set them up to go live. Okay, so now it's time to unveil something new that we're doing. We're quite excited about this, but before I tell you what it is that we're doing, I've been enjoying very much the speculation, the wish listing, the frothing, call it whatever you like, of people saying, oh, I wonder if it's this, I wonder if it's that, I hope it's the other. And there's some really good ideas that people are putting forward. And I have to say that quite a few of the things that people have mentioned, well, some of the things people have mentioned are very much on our kind of, in our plans or in our thoughts. We have a sort of an immediate plan of models that we're going to be producing hopefully in the next year or so. And then we've kind of got a longer list of things that we'd like to do. But in terms of when we make announcements, and maybe to sort of help with guessing next time, we're very, very aware that we don't want to over-announce, or we don't want to promise too much. And so we are not going to be announcing a powered model now until we delivered a powered model. We delivered the Pendolino, and that gave us the confidence to announce things like the 313. But we haven't delivered the 92s yet, and the 321s are still on their way. So it's not going to be a powered model tonight, purely because we don't want to give you the impression that we're sort of jumping ahead of ourselves when there are still models outstanding. So tonight it's just going to be a rolling stock model. And so without further ado, let's just show you a photo of what it is. Here we go. And isn't that a glorious shot? So it's going to be the Drax Power IIA-D TAFU's Biomass Hoppers. Now, one of the reasons that these really excite me, apart from the fact they just look absolutely fantastic, is that again, this develops an entirely new type of wagon for British N-Gauge. Nobody has done a biomass hopper. Now, anybody who follows current affairs will know that biomass is coming in. Now, Drax Power Station generates 6% of Britain's electricity, but it's currently generating something like 15% of our renewable power from biomass renewables, and it's leading the way in that. And they designed these hoppers, they came into use in 2013 because biomass is so much lighter than coal. They started off by using converted coal hoppers, but realised that was massively inefficient because there's lots of space that was wasted, and they were maxing out on volume way before they were reaching the axle load limit of the wagons. So I'll show you the CAD of our model. It's already at the CAD stage, and you can see, if you look at that, a variety of things that I'll talk you through. First of all, the wagon body absolutely fills the kinematic envelope that's allowed on the loading gauge. So it absolutely fills every corner, in theory, is going to be carrying biomass to make them as efficient as they can possibly be. You'll also notice perhaps that the bogies are somewhat inset compared to most wagons, and that's because while you've got the 2 normal discharge chutes and opening bottom discharge doors in the centre, there are also a pair of chutes on the outside of the bogies, and that is because there are 4 hoppers on this. 2 of them discharge down the middle, and the 2 outer ones discharge outside the bogies. Again, that's to maximise how much they can carry. I have to say it's a detail that I didn't particularly appreciate at the design stage, because it did make it a little bit fiddly trying to work out how we would do the couplings, and in the end we haven't been able to fit these wagons with fully expanding kinematic couplings because there just isn't the space allowing that if you're going to have any kind of realistic representation of that outer hopper. But they have got NEM pockets in, so there's no problem with switching out the kind of couplers that you want. Now, these wagons are being produced for us thanks to Drax giving us permission. We've got licensing from them, and they are going to be they are a sort of a joint project that we're doing with Rails of Sheffield, and we're going to be doing them in a variety of different liveries that I'm going to come on to. But when they operate with DB/EWS locos. They've operated with Colas locos, as you saw in that first fantastic photo, which was by Neil Harvey. And then they also operate with GBRF locos, as you can see in this photo from Dave Kerwin. Now, they usually operate in rakes of up to 25, which we think in N-gauge is ideal because we can run lovely long trains on our N-gauge layouts. And the liveries are really stylish. Now, the original livery is the one that most people would know, which is the silver with the sort of bluey green at either end, and that's the Drax Power. And there are two different versions of that livery, and the odd numbered wagons have one version and the evenly numbered wagons have the other. So how we're going to sell these wagons is in twin packs with one of each type. I'm just going to show you another CAD image there so I can talk you through some of the details. There's lots of detail on the underframe. There are separate pipes and running along the bottom there. On the outer ends you'll see there's separate detail and wire handles for the top door opening and closing mechanism. So yeah, really happy with those. Those are into tooling now, and we're hoping to have the first samples in about 6 to 8 weeks. In terms of liveries, so we're doing the classic original Drax Power Powering Tomorrow liveries. About 3 or 4 years ago, some of these wagons started to receive Northern Powerhouse branding and a slightly tweaked version of the livery, so we're doing those ones. And some of them in the last couple of years have also received another different version of the livery with big photographs of various power locations that Drax operate, and these are they brand these ones as renewable pioneers. So we're offering twin packs of all these different liveries, and you can mix and match between them. Again, they're going to be coming exclusively from Rails of Sheffield, and uploading onto our website in about half an hour. I think will be a lot more information about these, describing how they operate, where they run, because they're used for carrying biomass from seaports to Drax Power Station in Yorkshire, from Liverpool, from Tyneside, from Humberside. So they are very, very useful, particularly if you're modelling the north of England or you just like really attractive, stylish freight trains. Okay, and I just like, before we move on from that, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Andrew and Mike, Andrew at Drax, Mike at WH Davis Wagon Builders, for all their help in getting the wagon details absolutely right. Lots of subtleties around the discharge doors and the profiling that we couldn't have got right without the help from those guys, especially during a pandemic. We haven't actually been able to go to Drax to measure and photograph these things as we normally would expect to do. So a huge thank you for them, to them, for helping us to get these things as accurate as we think they need to be. Okay, so that's the new announcement. Hope that goes down well with people. Just a couple of deadline reminders now. We're going to run through. So Pendolinos, second run of Pendolinos. You'll all know that we're doing them in original livery, virgin flowing silk, DFT sort of ghost livery, and the fantastic new Avanti livery. Okay, so the early bird deadline for the Pendolinos is the 31st of December. You can still order them at that, but after that I should say, but the price will go up. We expect to be closing the order book, depending obviously on a lot of things. We expect to be closing the order book sometime around the end of January, start of February, to coincide with the beginning of Chinese New Year. And then when the Chinese all come back after New Year, that's when we'll put the production order into Rapido and get the models made, with the hope that they'll be here sometime in the summer of 2021. Okay, a couple more deadlines for you. I've already mentioned the 00 IWA vans and timber carriers. The deadline for those is in 00, the deadline is the 31st of December. In N-gauge, the deadline is the 31st of January, and that's the full-on order deadline, and they'll be going into production after that. The one thing I haven't talked about yet is the eco-frets. Now we're doing the eco-fret container wagons in 00 and in N, and again we've got the N-gauge eco-fret deadline is the 31st of December. The 00 eco-fret deadline is the 31st of January. So it's the same as the IWA, just switched around, with the N-gauge ones coming first and then the 00 ones coming afterwards. Again, these incredibly useful wagons. We're going to be uploading to our website a little route map showing where they run, and they run pretty much everywhere, and we're doing them in GBRF blue, as you saw in that image just now. We're also going to be doing them in in VTG green, as operated by Freightliner, and as triple wagons, triple sets in DB red. The Freightliner ones, Freightliner operate them in twin sets, but GBRF and DB operate them in triple sets. Okay, so that's all the deadlines that I want to talk to you about. Just a couple of sort of little coming soon type things. Class 89, we are hoping to bring you an update on this soon. We're just not quite there yet, but I know there are people hoping that we will be able to find a way to do a Class 89 and N-gauge. We really want to too, but obviously it's pointless doing it unless we can get the arrangements sorted out right. we're expecting in time for the next Facebook Live, hopefully decorated samples of our 00 gauge IPA car carriers. The N gauge ones have been with customers now for a couple of months and have been getting really good reviews, so we're really happy about that. The first Sonic 00 model is going to be unveiled at some point soon, and the next Sonic N gauge model is also going to be unveiled, and that will be unveiled when the 56X models arrive. Again, everyone is very wary of this over-promising and announcing before you delivered anything. Sonic wants people to see the quality of his 56XX models, and when people are saying, wow, this is amazing, which I'm sure they will be, because I think they're really lovely models, then would be the right time to reveal what his next locomotive is going to be. It's a steam locomotive, I'll say that, no big secret there beyond that. And hopefully there's a tiny chance, I suppose, that we might have samples for the next Revolution Trains Facebook Live of our Drax Biomass Hoppers. Who knows? The tooling has started, but again, 6 to 8 weeks. I suspect we'll be ready to have another live perhaps before then, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so just going to have a quick look at the questions. Which bin liner? The problem is there are various different types, says Cheadle. Oh, that's a request for us to do bin liners. Well, we're doing the gypsum. Give us a chance. We did the so this is what have we done this year? We did the reefer containers with C-rail, which are really happy with those. Last year we did the bulk containers with C-rail. This year, because of what turned out to be a happy accident with Accurascale, we're doing gypsum containers too. That wasn't expected, but it's kind of a bonus. So yeah, bin liners are great. The problem is I think different containers run on different very specific routes, so you kind of have to make a choice, but that's a conversation for another time. Okay, well, not many questions, just comments there. So thanks very much everybody for watching. If you have got any other questions, there's going to be a thread on this on the Engage forum, which most people will know about, and we'll be answering questions there. And there are threads on some of our products on RM Web, which I try and keep across when I can, so if you want to ask a question there, I'll try to answer it. Mike's been answering questions, I'm sure, on our Facebook Live feed. And I'm going to say thanks very much indeed for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio.